So just a few months ago, I remember when it was exam season for first year medical students. I remember I crammed for one of my exams and I literally stayed up all night, like 24 hours plus. And the exam was at 8 a.m. I went in, I sat the exam and I did pass, but it made me question, like, surely there was a better way of going about this. Like, I didn't have to stay up all night, prepping for that exam. If only I had started my revision earlier, I would have been in a way better position than I was. What's going on? I'm Sid and I'm a second year medical student. I've just finished my first year of medicine and there were a lot of ups and downs and I learned a lot. There were things I wish I had known before I got into medical school, and that's what I'm going to share with you in this video. So if you're applying to medicine or you're about to go into your first year, I think you'll find this video very helpful. So the first thing I want to talk about is lectures. I'll be honest, you don't have to go to lectures. So as a first year student, you think you're going to go to all the lectures and you're going to learn as much as you can. You're not going to miss a single lecture because you want to be this amazing student or whatever. And I thought the same. But the reality is, when you go to lectures, you don't really learn a lot. The teaching isn't the best when it comes to lectures, because imagine there's just one person, the professor, and there's like 200 students. I can't learn. I can't learn in that environment. I need to like have a one-on-one or like a small group session. So what I would do is I would just not go. I'd stay at home and I'd look at the PowerPoint slides or the lecture slides the professor would send you, and I'd go through them in my own time. So that's one thing I learned in medical school, is you don't have to go to all the lectures. And if you think you do, trust me, you don't, because I finished my first year and I passed all my exams. I went to probably less than 10 lectures in all of first year. I didn't go to many and I still passed all my exams. So the bottom line is, you don't need to go to all your lectures, because the thing is, I'd be sitting in the lecture and I'd have like my iPad and I'd be writing down what they're saying. They would just be going through the PowerPoint slides so quickly and I can't keep up. I can't understand what they're saying because they're teaching and they're catering to like a large audience, like a lot of students at one go. That's not really like the best way to learn, I think. The only time I went to lectures was in that first week of uni when everyone is going to lectures, everyone's so excited and everything, but believe me, like, you literally don't have to go to lectures. Another thing I want to mention is, sometimes when you go into medical school, you're probably a bit scared because you're thinking, you're going to have to buy all these textbooks. And, one thing about medical textbooks is that they're all really expensive. They're like £50, £100 per textbook. The thing is, you don't need to buy any textbook. All the textbooks that you need, they're available online for free. So you don't need to worry about that, spending hundreds of pounds. And this is what I did. I just went online. I found free PDFs of all the textbooks. Sometimes your university gives you access to these textbooks online, so you don't have to go out of your own way on Amazon and like order a textbook. So the next thing I want to talk about is networking. So there's two parts to this. There's networking with the professors and the doctors that teach you, and then there's networking in terms of like societies. So when you're networking with professors and doctors, so this is what I would do, and this is what I did. When we have these small group study sessions, and we call them seminars, in our little seminar groups, we'd have like one professor with 10 students, and they'll teach you something, right? They'll go over what the lecture said, but in like a more practical way. It's a lot more intense, but you learn a lot more. What I would do is, at the end of the seminar study sessions, I would go up to the professor and just talk to them. I talk to them like they're my friend. And obviously, like with professors and doctors, like the number one thing is, like, you have to please their ego. Like, you have to kind of praise them in a way and ask for their help, because that's when they'll love you. That's when you really like make a good connection and bond with them. Then they're more inclined to just help you in the future. And that's one thing I really learned, was just make friends with the professors. Be on good terms with all the professors you can, because it will really help you. Like in the future, when you need a certain professor's help, or like one professor is doing a research study and you could be like, hey, can I join? I want to learn more about this. You'll be like, yeah, sure. Like, come, why not? So that's one thing, is network with the professors and doctors that teach you. So another thing I want to talk about is societies. Now, societies are an amazing way to like meet people and network with like loads of different people. Now, me personally, I'm part of the Sports and Exercise Medicine Society, and I'm serving as like the vice president. I'll be the president next year, but it's a lot of fun because you get to meet so many people and you host conferences, you host like workshops and just events within the uni. It makes you stand out. So definitely get involved in societies. Now, it doesn't have to be like a society that you don't like. Just find something like you're passionate about, like whether it's Korean dramas or, you know, whatever it is. Find whatever makes you happy and pursue that society. Try and get onto the committee or, you know, become a member of the actual society, because trust me, it goes a long way. And not only that, once you get in, you have access to people in the year above, 2, 3, 4 years above, and people younger than you. And you can literally like network with these people and ask them questions. Hey, like I've got this exam coming up. What did you do to study for it? And I've made some friends with people who were in the society at the time, but now they're working as doctors. And I get to ask them questions like, hey, like I've got this exam coming up, or, you know, what's this rotation like? And I know I definitely need their help when eventually I'll get to the position of picking my specialty or whatever it is. And they'd be more inclined to help me because I was part of that society. Like we were, you know, pretty close at the time. So the bottom line is try and get involved in as many societies as possible and literally just talk to people. That's it. Like network and talk to people. So the next one's a bit of a fun one. You know, when you finish A levels or school and, you know, you're going through like, you know, 3 or 4 subjects. When you come into medical school, you're thinking, what am I going to expect? Like what's going to happen? One of the best subjects I think you would really, really enjoy, and what I really enjoyed, was anatomy. Anatomy by far was the best subject because it was very, very practical. With anatomy, we had cadavers. So cadavers are essentially like dead bodies, but they're used for scientific research and teaching. And what you get to do is you get to literally go through like the whole body yourself. You can look at all the muscles, nerves, tissues, fibers, literally anything. And it's the most exciting part about medical school, is especially in like the non-clinical years, like the first 2 or 3 years of your medical school, you get to explore the body in so much detail. And that's when you know you're really in medical school. And that's when learning actually becomes quite fun, because everything you're learning, you know, back in A levels or whatever is just theory. But when you're doing anatomy and you go to the seminars or even the lectures, it's so much more real when you have an actual person there, like someone who's cut open from like chest to bottom. They've got their like ribs out, their nerves are out, and you can literally just play around and just like figure what this is or what that is. And it's honestly like the best subject in the non-clinical years when you start medical school. But I'd say just be ready for anatomy, because it might gross you out at the start, but you would get used to it. It takes a lot of time to get used to, because especially the strong smell of formaldehyde, so the thing that kind of preserves the body, it's really, really strong, like a strong like alcohol kind of smell. It smells like a bit like bleach in a way. It really burns your nose. So that's one thing I learned. And also, just before you even go to anatomy, make sure you're read up on all your notes and like you've learned what it is, because when you get into those like active sessions and your professor picks something out, it's like, hey, like what is this? It's really difficult to actually figure it out unless you've gone into a lot of detail as to like what it is and stuff. But I think you will enjoy anatomy a lot, because I really, really had a lot of fun, and I'm still going to do it in second year as well, so I can't wait for that. So next I want to talk about is some of the common pitfalls you might fall into during your first year of medical school. Now for me, it was mostly my revision, and I left it too late. That was something I think I could have definitely done a better job, because I used to cram a lot for exams, and especially because there were so many things to do. And now, of course, I've gotten better with time management. And one thing I would say is don't start your revision late. Begin making your notes and your flashcards like the minute you get into medical school, because when exam season comes around the corner, it will like hit you in the face, because there is so much content and like the depth of the subjects is insane. I mean, I'm not trying to scare you or anything, but I'm just being realistic here. So definitely try get started earlier, because the earlier you start, like you'll put yourself in a way better position than like 99% of people. Make sure you get started early on revision, so you don't have to like cram like 24 hours like the whole night before the exam or something like that. That's definitely some of like the biggest mistakes some students make, and you know what I made as well. Another pitfall is sometimes students think that, you know, they need to study too much, and this was me. Sometimes I would study so much and I would like neglect going out with my friends, because I was like, hey, like, you know, I've got this like little test coming up on Monday, or we have this class coming up tomorrow, and I need to go over the notes so I don't fail, whatever. Yeah, like that's true, but don't neglect going out with your friends. Like your friends and like that whole whole experience actually is what university is about. It's not just the academics, the studying, you know, the all-nighters, the cramming, all of that. That's not what it's about. It's about actually enjoying the whole uni experience with your friends. So make sure you don't neglect your friends and actually go out with them. It's important to have a balance between studying and relaxing. But make sure you find that balance. If you don't know how to, I'll make a bunch of videos in the future detailing how I do that. So do subscribe because more will be coming your way. And lastly, I just want to give you a day in the life of a medical student. The first thing is you wake up at around 6 or 7 a.m. Classes start at around 8 to 9 a.m. Usually it's lectures or it's like small group teaching, the seminars that I talked about. Then those go on for like hours. So usually they would go on for about 2 hours or 3 hours, and then you'd have a break, and then there'll be more classes. So normally you'd finish at about 4. Sometimes certain lectures will go like till 5 or 6. And I know like that's a bit crazy to hear because in school we finish at 3 o'clock, right? 3:30. But in university, lectures will go on to like 5, 6, sometimes even 7. So be ready for that. And normally, you know, when I finish at 4, I'd go home, I'd like eat or something, and then I'd go to the gym, come back, and then I'd have to like prep for the next day. Now, not every single day is like that. Some days you finish at 1 or 2, but mostly you'd finish at like 4 or 5, but it just depends on the day. So that was pretty much everything I learned from my first year of medical school. And I hope if you're someone who is studying medicine now, or you're about to start studying medicine in September or, you know, next year, I hope you found a lot of value and I hope it helped you out a lot. So if you have any concerns about medical school, or, you know, you're already someone who's finished first year of medicine, comment it below because I would like to see the comments and I'll reply to as many of them as I can. And if you did enjoy the video, do subscribe because it helps out a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.